Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the information on last week's show, The New Chameleons, Unlock Marketing's Old Cages to Profit from Disruption, informative. If you are unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. If there are topics you'd like to have, or there's additional questions you have as well, please reach out to us at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Larry Sharpe is a husband, father, Marine, entrepreneur, teacher, and political activist. His mission is to help people find happiness through community and purpose, often by overcoming bad policy decisions in government. He ran for governor of New York State in 2018 and is now writing his book on happiness. So Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time and energy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, and I always like to ask my guests to share a little bit more about their background and how they got into doing what they're doing. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to become an executive trainer.
Well, if people really want to know, they can feel free to Google Larry Sharpe. There's lots of stuff in there. I happen to be lucky and I have an uncommon name, right? If I was John Smith, I'd be in trouble, right? But luckily, if you Google Larry Sharpe, it's kind of only me. I didn't want to be a coach, to be forward with you. I wanted to be a trainer. Right. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be a coach. I wanted to become a trainer because as I was selling and I was doing a lot of sales jobs, I always found myself being the number 2 sales rep and never the number 1 sales rep, even though I was pretty good at what I did. And when I realized why the number 1 sales rep was number 1, it was almost always because either I was helping them, right, when I shouldn't have been, but it was just something I gravitated towards doing, or because they had relationships already that I didn't have. One of those two. Those are 2 big reasons why I never seemed to be number 1 sales rep. So I thought to myself, maybe I shouldn't be doing all the selling myself. Maybe I should be doing some of the training to make people better. And I found myself, really, that was more of my calling. As I was kind of lost in deciding what I should do next as part of one of my businesses failing. My first business, I ran with my mother, and it did relatively well. I got her the business. I gave her the business because my mom was in a very bad spot. She was a convicted felon. And those of you who have had anyone in your life who's, fallen down that road, you know that it's hard to get a job. And when you get a job, it becomes a situation to where you are a hostage to your job because there are no other jobs for you. So you can't defend yourself. You just feel like you're a hostage. And I said, I'm not letting my mom be a hostage. So I'm starting a business. That's how I became an entrepreneur, believe it or not. And I said, I'm giving my mom 100% ownership of the company, because if she owns the company, nobody can ever fire her again. So that's how I became an entrepreneur, because I wanted freedom for my mom. And it worked. She ran it until she retired. She's passed away since, but she ran it until she retired. And that was great. But then I went off and started doing sales jobs because I did entrepreneurship for her, not for me, right? So I was still doing it. But then I realized maybe this entrepreneurship is not a bad idea. So I started a business selling. And it failed, and I had to sell it off after 2 years. And I always say those 2 years in that business, that was my MBA, because that's when I learned how to run a business. I thought all you have to do is sell and you can run a business. Clearly, that's not the case, but that's what I believed at the time. So I'd be out closing deals, and then I'd come home and be like, why do I have no money? I don't get it. How can I not be profitable? I'm closing deals. Well, I didn't understand vendors. I didn't understand admin. I didn't understand pricing structure. I didn't understand marketing. All the other things that a business owner has to know. I had no clue. I was like, shake people's hands and get money and you win. That's kind of all I thought. And after 2 years, I was finally profitable. But I felt so terrible about the business. I didn't want it anymore. There was so much bad blood. And I'll tell you a story that's a terrible story, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I got rid of my business so fast. I just wanted to get rid of it. So a guy who was in another territory saw my business and it was profitable at this time. It had been unprofitable for a year and a half. Finally, it was becoming profitable. And sadly, that's when I didn't want it anymore because I didn't want to get up in the morning and do it anymore. And if you're an entrepreneur, you know what I mean. It's a point to where you're saying, why am I doing this? I was at that point. So I wanted to sell it to him and he didn't have the money that I wanted. So I said, I tell you what, take that number, divide it by 6, give me a check for 1/6 for the next 6 months. He said, deal. And I shook his hand on it. Please don't do that. That is not a good idea. However, I did that. I did this deal on a handshake, no contract. But I say this to show you how desperate I was to dump the business. That is not a smart move, but I didn't care. I just wanted out. So people ask me, Larry, did he pay you? Yeah, he paid me every month for 6 months because it was a profitable business. He was making money. So he didn't mind. He's like, this is a good deal. So he actually paid me. But would I have chased him if he didn't pay me? No. I just didn't want to be in the business anymore. So the extra checks were an extra bonus for me. I was glad that I got them. So that business failed. That was my MBA. And then I decided to start my next business. And that's when I finally figured out, what am I going to do next? And that one, I literally used a book. I actually used, believe it or not, a Myers-Briggs test.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't like the Myers-Briggs test, and they're good and they're bad. They're definitely not the be all end all, but they have value. So I used one of them, and it kind of told me what I was. And I used another book, which I don't know if they have it anymore. The book at the time was called, What Color is Your Parachute? That was the name of the book. I don't know if it's still around, but this is the early 2000s, maybe in that area, 20 years ago, give or take. And it said that I strive to be a sage. My company's NeoSage. I strive to, to help others and train. And it didn't say for good jobs. It didn't say salesman. It said sales trainer, sales manager. And I thought, I'll start a sales training company. And that was the right answer. That's what happened. And that went very well for me. And I started in 2004 and it exploded. I was doing very well. By the time 2006, 7 came around, I literally had my own office on 3rd Avenue, Manhattan. I was training big banks. And I thought, man, I can't be stopped. This is the way it's going to work. Then the crash came. And boy, could I be stopped. So I thought it again, I could not be stopped, but I was stopped. Had to fire my employees, shut down, redo everything. And I had to retool my entire business model. And at that point, I had a training facility in my office. I was just a trainer. I was only doing sales training, nothing else. But at one point, I was at a big bank, an investment bank, and doing a sales training. And one of the guys came to me and said, hey, Larry, I think you could, help me out personally. You're not really a sales trainer, you're more like an influence guy. And I went, oh, thank you. That sounds good. Thank you for that. And he said, yeah. He goes, you know what? What about if you start helping me personally, like coaching me? And I said, because in my head, I never tell my clients no. I just price them out. I make it so expensive that they say no, but I never tell them no. So you say, Larry, come wash my car by hand next weekend. Absolutely, I will. I'll be right there, Ken, no problem. $10,000, I will bring my own soap. And you go, Larry, I'm not paying $10,000. Oh, okay, then I guess I'm gonna wash your car then, but thanks. And I make it a price that if you actually say, yeah, do it, before with Candy, I would wash your car for 10 grand. I would say I would. So if you ever want me to wash your car, that's the price. I'll come by. I'll bring my own soap. All good. So all I'm saying is I always had to price people out, right? So that they say no. So I don't have to tell them no. So I'd cut my teeth on all small business owners. I didn't understand where I was. This was my first investment bank client I'd ever had. I didn't understand how much money they made in Manhattan, how much money it was. I didn't know that. So I said, sure, 100%. I'll absolutely coach you. I want $5,000 up front. And we'll meet whenever I possibly can. I don't know when that's going to happen. We'll see. No guarantees. I want a 3-month commitment. He went, okay. And I was like, what'd you say? He said, okay. And he wrote a check for $5 grand and gave it to me. And I said, I guess I'm a coach now. That wasn't what was supposed to happen. What I didn't realize is these guys make $3 million a year. So if I help him close one deal, he makes $250,000. What does my $5 grand mean? Nothing to him. It's fine.
Right.
He closes one deal. I mean, it's whatever, it's huge. He's totally fine with that. So that's how I became a coach. I didn't want to be a coach. And then I started coaching, and man, I was good at it. So I found out that literally about 1/3 of my business prior to the recent COVID lockdowns was coaching. About 1/3 of my business was that. And so I generally made more money coaching as 1/3 of my business than almost all coaches in the country make. And it was because I didn't want to be one. So I just wound up being one. So basically what I wound up being actually is a one-on-one tutor, not really a coach, if that makes any sense. I wound up being a one-on-one tutor is what I wound up becoming. So
Nice.
doing all that, how does that get me to here? That gets me because what I was teaching was actually post-industrial leadership. Post-industrial leadership is not what people think it is. Post-industrial leadership is not management. In the old days where everybody was in a factory, management mattered. It was product and procedure and resources, and that's management. And that's an important thing. But to be forward, computers do that better than we do. And managers are being pushed out left and right because computers do it better. But leadership is different. Leadership is about communication. Leadership is about getting the individual to want to be there. What I need less and less is your arms and legs. I need them, but less and less. What I need more and more is your intuition. I need your initiative. I need your imagination. I need your creativity. I need your desire to change on the fly as things change. Literally within 30 minutes, the entire plan has changed, right? We've all seen this happen in today's world. So you need to be the one to go, no, I got this, boss. Let me make this happen. I only get that if you want to be there, if you and I are aligned on what the goal is. And to get that, I have to make sure that I'm able to communicate that effectively and get you to care. But it's a second piece. Overall, most people think I want the right person for the right job. That's true. But I also want something else. I want a diversity of thought, right? Diversity of thought with unity of purpose. If you have diversity of thought with unity of purpose, you've hit the home run when it comes to leadership. The odds of your success have shot up. Don't get me wrong. You can always fail and you can always succeed with luck. It does happen. But you're setting in the odds in your favor, right? If you've got diversity of thought and unity of purpose, you've just pushed the odds up in your favor. You do that through communication. Sadly, most people think management is about clear, accurate communication. It is not. That's what most people who are lawyers, technicians, doctors, engineers, they are given accolades. They are told how awesome they are based upon their technical skill and their accurate communication. And that's great. Then they have to lead and they fail miserably because leadership is not about that. Leadership is about emotional communication. As a good leader, you cannot only be concerned with the accuracy of your communication. You must be concerned with the outcome of your communication. Accurate or not, the outcome is what is critical, more important than the accuracy. Now, accuracy, of course, matters, but accurate communication is actually easier than it looks. Effective communication, way harder.
Right.
And that's what we have to worry about. So leadership is about communication, getting leaders to want to be there, getting them to act when you're not there, even more important, getting them to act when they're sitting at home, the Zoom call's over. Now, what do? Do they turn on Netflix or the the PlayStation, or do the extra work? And that's your leadership decides whether that's true or not. So that's leadership. That's how I got here. Was that a little bit long-winded? I apologize if it was.
No. Well, you covered a lot of great information in there though, too. So I think it's a great, start into this topic of, the leadership versus the management. So thank you for sharing. But I wanted to ask you then too, how do you foster that purposeful inspiration among employees?
It is called leadership through questions. That is the most important piece. I've been an officer in a public company before. I've been a hatchet guy, sadly, reorg. I've done that, right? I've run my own businesses. I've coached executives through transitions, all types of things. And in every case, the most important piece is not having to give orders. And I'll give you the perfect example. Let's say I know, in this case, Kenny, I know that the plan has to be done by January 1st. We all know this. And there are 4 of us in the team. You're one of them. And everyone knows, Candy, you're the best at this. Everyone knows it. The other 3 people on the team know you're the best. So what a good leader would do in theory would be, I'm going to assign Candy this, and I'm going to tell her to do this. And the due date is January 1st. That makes total sense. And it's totally wrong. The right answer to do is to say this, guys, team, we know that this plan is due January 1st. I got to ask, who wants in? That's what I do. Now, what if you don't raise your hand? Everyone knows you're the best at this, and you don't raise your hand. What have I just done? I've just learned that you're tired of this.
Mhm.
You are tired of this. You're great at it, but you've been doing it for 10 years and you're tired of it. You don't want to keep doing this. I've now
Right, and
just
everyone
learned that
depends
from
on
you.
you all the time, right? They just look to you.
Yes. And maybe you don't want to do it now. So what
Mhm.
if someone else puts their hand up and goes, I want to try? So now you go, yay. Oh my God, someone else wants this thing. I don't want to do it. So now I go, oh, okay, you want to try it? And then I can be open. I say, Kenny, I know you've done this many times before. Do you feel comfortable mentoring Jim and getting him to
Mhm.
do this? And you're gonna be like, yes, and yes. I am so happy to make Jim do this. I will help him tremendously. I didn't assign anyone anything. And I just
Mhm.
got a trainer and I got a new person to do something. And now if something goes wrong, I have two people who can do it. I've just made everything better without giving one order.
Right.
And then I say, great, great, great. So you know the client's going to want this by January 1st. When do you think you could get it done? And you're going to tell me, well,
Mhm.
this is actually going to be challenging, but we could probably knock it out by December 19. December 19. Awesome. Whose deadline is that? It's
That's
not
theirs.
mine. That's their deadline. If
Mhm.
that goes wrong, it's on them. And why does that matter? I don't want to blame them. That isn't the point.
Right.
But the point is, if they've chosen the deadline and now it's December, I don't know, 12th, and you realize, man, Jim didn't know this, and this is a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I really got to hold his hand more than I thought I was going to. 19th is not going to work. Maybe the
Mhm.
22nd. You're going to tell me in advance. You're going to let me know, Larry. I know I said 19th, but it's harder than I thought. Jim didn't know X, Y, and Z. I got to hold his hand more. We'll do December 22nd. So now what happens? First, if it's still before January 1, so I'm still happy. But not just that. Every boss, every leader would rather know the world is ending and not find out the world is ending,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
if it's my deadline, I go, you need to have this by the 19th because I'm the boss and do what I say. If I do that, then the 18th comes, you go, this is never going to happen. I don't know why Larry gave us this dumb deadline. I'll let him know tomorrow I ain't doing it. And then 19th comes, you go, can't do it, maybe 22nd. Now I'm angry. Now I'm
Right.
upset. And you're mad at me for giving you some stupid deadline you can never meet. So you're mad at
Mhm.
me. I'm mad at you. Everybody's unhappy. If I just start asking questions, everybody's on board. And now they come to
Mhm.
me. Now I'm just the person who's ensuring that it's done. I'm just creating the environment for the players to excel. I'm
Right.
not telling the players what to do. It's a whole different way of looking at things. And the more you do that, the more you'll have them on board, the more you'll have them having responsibility and having an ownership mindset of the tasks and the jobs they have.
Right. Well, even in that example, when you were talking, I was thinking that maybe that person who stepped up to volunteer, who maybe doesn't have as much experience, didn't have the opportunity before to even learn it
Maybe.
because the other person was always the one that was approached. So it gives them more opportunity now to learn something.
Absolutely. Yes. And the
Mhm.
opposite thing is, what if I think to myself, you know what? I don't want Candy doing it. This is before I ask the question. When I'm thinking to myself, I got this. I don't want her doing it because I rely on her too much.
Mhm.
So I want someone else to be able to do this. So I'm just going to assign it to Jim. If
Mhm.
I just say that, now you're angry, even though you didn't want it.
Right.
You still wanted the right of first refusal. You still wanted the
Mhm.
respect of being asked, right? So if I just assigned it to Jim, you go, what I do wrong last time, boss? You didn't like what I did. Now you're angry. And now if I ask you to
Right.
help Jim, you're mad. You're not gonna help. You're gonna sabotage Jim.
Right.
So
Right.
everything goes wrong. Again, I don't want to assign. I want to just
Mhm.
ask. And if I really don't want Cannon to do it, because I do want Jim to learn, and I've been relying on her forever, and I don't want to do that anymore, I should come to her separately and go, look, you're amazing. To be forward, sometimes you're too amazing. We're relying on you. I gotta let someone else try to be as amazing as you. Can you help make Jim as amazing as you? Is that
Mhm.
possible? And you go, yeah, I'll do that. Now you got the respect you wanted, and now you'll help Jim become great. It's a
Mhm.
whole different way of looking at things. And again, I didn't
Right.
order you. I didn't go, we got to
Mhm.
fix Jim. So you know, give up your high horse and go help out Jim. I'm not doing that. I'm asking you, can you do it?
Right.
And odds are they'll say yes. And if your team keeps telling you no when you ask, that's your problem, not theirs.
Mhm.
You've
Mhm.
either hired the wrong people or you're a bad example. You could change your leadership style. Your team should not be
Right.
telling you no if they're working for you.
Mhm. So, what are the most valuable qualities then of a leader in business?
understanding that you don't have to know everything.
Mhm.
So important. Leaders come in all the time. You see it on TV and movies all the time. In comes a boss. All right, guys, I got 20 years experience. Let me tell you what to do. You do this, you do that. That's TV garbage. That's not
Right.
real. That's just TV stuff. And it's good drama. It is. So I'm not mad at TV people for doing it. It is cool drama. New sheriff in town, right? Of course. Oh, it's great drama. I love it. Let's watch it and laugh and then hate the bad guy and like the good guy. All good stuff. But in life, that's a real problem, right? Let's keep that in TV and in movies. But in life, let's not do that, right?
Right.
You want to realize that the most important thing to remember is the best leaders have the best questions, not the best answers, right?
Mhm.
That's the critical piece. So I was teaching this class it was Yale, at the business school. And one of my students in the class said, Larry, you don't understand. He says, I am the smartest guy in my company.
Mhm.
Now, for those listening or watching who don't know, many people who go to Columbia. Sorry, people go to Columbia. They're all about finance. Not all, but a whole lot. If you go to Columbia's grad school, 85% are going to go back into finance, right? You go to Yale, you might go to marketing, you might go nonprofit. You go to other places if you go to Yale. If you go to Columbia, you're going back to finance. That's just what the school's about, right? So there's a guy who was in finance, and many of them are working and then go to B school while they're working. It's a common thing, right? So he's in B school and he says, I'm the smartest guy. And I said, okay, I don't doubt you. You're the smartest guy. And I said, do you think that the guy or gal in charge should always be the smartest? Yeah, quite. I said, not just that. Isn't a good leader someone who gets smart people to follow them?
Mhm.
If I'm a good leader, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. Think about how bad that is. Oh, so terrible. Everyone on my team is brilliant. Oh, poor me. What an amazing thing that I want my entire team to be brilliant.
Right.
And I want to be a good enough leader that the brilliant people, recognizing they're more brilliant than I, still still want to follow me, right? They
Right.
should say, yeah, I'm smarter than Larry, and I still want to follow the guy. That's what I want. So leadership isn't about being the smartest person in the room. In fact, you hope that you are a good enough leader that the smart people want to follow you. They see that you are the most important part of a leader, the center they should be the center of purpose.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
The leader should create the purpose. Why are we there? If the leader doesn't know that, the leader's going to struggle. So when people begin to doubt and aren't sure, right, you have to have something that is overlapping all the work you're doing, right? All the work you're doing, whatever it is, has to lean towards one thing. And there's an old saying. It's an old thing. You probably heard it. It's kind of trite, but it works. So I'll use it even though it's trite. There's a story. I have no idea if it's true, but it's a story that I heard. 3 people who are bricklayers next to each other. Go to the first guy and say, what are you doing? He says, I'm laying bricks. Oh, okay. Go to the second guy. They're all doing the same job. What are you doing? He says, I'm making a wall. Oh, okay. Go to the third guy. What are you doing? He goes, I'm building a school. Now, all 3 of them are doing exactly the same work. They're laying bricks. But which guy gets it? The guy who says, I'm building a school. As a good leader, everyone should be saying, I'm building a school. If people are saying, I'm laying bricks, you are failing as a leader. You need to be making sure that they all get what you're doing, the center of purpose.
Well, I know sometimes when you have a team, especially the larger the team that you get, there's going to be some personality issues or conflicts or things like that. So how do you keep a team motivated if they're facing obstacles or they have some of these challenges with each other?
That's one of the hardest things to do, right? Particularly if you're new coming into a business model. 2 parts. Number 1, you should never have more than 7 direct reports ever. Never. Number 1. If you've got 8, 10, 12 direct reports, here's what I can guarantee you. Either you're not leading them well, or 2, you're not doing your job, or 3, you have no life because you're working 95 hours a week. One of those 3 things is true, right? So you've got no friends and family, basically, because you're working 95 to 100 hours a week. That's option 1. Or 2, you're not leading well, or you're not doing your job. You can't have that many. 7 is the max. 4 to 5 is the sweet spot, right? But you can go 7. 4 to 5 is the sweet spot. So if you're finding yourself in a situation where you have more than 7 reports, reorg. You have to reorg. But Larry, I feel weird. You have to reorg. You're gonna ruin yourself. You do not want to have more than 7 direct reports, number one. Number two, so now I have problems, issues with the people. This goes back to purpose. And I use this when you deal with any executive team, and I've dealt with executive teams in the past, and believe it or not, I've done this also with couples and such also. The concept's the same. When there's bad blood between people, they don't like each other at the moment. They're angry at each other at the moment. They feel disrespected, or they feel out of control, or they feel whatever. For you to go, let me figure out who's right and who's wrong. You know what? Bob, you're wrong. Jane, you're right. Get over it. You're adults. You're not in high school anymore, which is what every leader does. They think they're awesome. And that's a terrible idea. You've actually made things worse. The reality is, pick no sides. Create a third entity. What does that mean? If it's a relationship, a typical boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, that type of relationship, right? Whatever the case may be, two spouses, you insert the people you want there. You want to ask the two people, two spouses sitting there. You want to say, all right, do you care about this relationship? And spouse one goes, I would, but then blah, 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 blah. No, what I'm asking you, if you care about relationship, I would accept that. So you don't care? No, I care. Okay, great. So you care about relationship. Awesome. Spouse number two, do you care? Yeah, but if they would just, blah. No. I'm asking you care about relationship. Yeah. Okay, great. I've made a third entity. Now talk about the relationship. Spouse one doesn't want to do anything for spouse two because they're mad at them. Spouse two doesn't do anything for spouse one because they're mad at them. That's not logical. Note, I said leadership is not about logic, it's about emotion. It's emotional. Right. So I have to remove the emotion. So don't do it for spouse one or spouse two. Instead, do it for the relationship. And they both agreed they care about the relationship. So let's start making moves to repair the relationship. Concept in an executive team is the same. Your own team is the same. Start asking them, do you guys care about the mission? What's the mission here? And if you don't know the mission, that's step one.
Right.
Figure out what the mission is. Figure out why you're here. Figure out your purpose. When you figure that out, now go, all right, we're all in with the purpose. Awesome. If you care about the purpose, can you make changes for the purpose? Yeah, right. But Bob is a bad guy and he said these bad things. Yep, I know he did. I got you. I'm with you. So can you make some changes for the purpose? Not for Bob, for the purpose. All right, I'll make some. Bob, can you? Yeah, but Jane, she said these things and that. Yep, said all those things. Got it. Can you make some changes for the purpose? And you begin to make that shift and you understand that 3 things will happen. 1, they will resist you. Don't be angry. Expect resistance. Number 2, it will take more than 1 meeting or agreement. It will take several meetings and several agreements. And 3rd, it will never be perfect. If you can accept those 3 things, you can basically manage almost any conflict. If you can accept those 3 things, you can manage the conflict. And here's the best part. If it actually does heal, and sometimes it does, a healed relationship is very often the strongest of all of them. So there's an old saying, the most zealous are the converted. So if Jane used to hate Bob, if she ever likes him, she loves him and will defend him against anybody. So there's a chance that the relationship actually heals. And if it actually heals and isn't just managed, that's going to be very tight. She's going to go to bat for him in the boardroom like there's no tomorrow now, because now she's got Bob's back now. And now Bob sees that and he's got Jane's back. Doesn't matter. They're defending each other now. You can see that can happen. It may not, but either way you can manage it and then hope for some great healing. That's how you handle that.
So a few minutes ago, you were talking about, if you had 4 or 5 people that you're managing, that's your sweet spot, no more than 7. And there are some people that are listening to us that are, small business owners. They're kind of doing it all. They don't necessarily have anyone in any type of supervision position yet in their business. So how would you help them say, okay, it's time to reorganize. I need to put someone into place. Like, how do they identify who that person might be? And then how do they get the setup and the buy-in from the other employees that are there?
Number 1, you want to think of your business in 3 chunks. Chunk number 1, operations. Chunk number 2, sales and marketing. Chunk number 3, admin. Operations are about effectiveness. Did I service the customer? And serving the customer does not mean did I work hard. That is actually irrelevant. Serving the customer means, did you match or exceed their expectation? That's all that matters. You could have worked 75 hours or 2 seconds. The amount of work you do is irrelevant. Let's say that one more time, because someone's listening. The amount of work you do is irrelevant. They don't care how hard you work at all. Don't tell them they don't care. Well, I'm bothered, Larry. Then don't be an entrepreneur. Nobody cares. Be forward. Nobody cares. How hard you work is irrelevant. Did you match or exceed their expectations? You did that, you win. I hope that's not much work, but it might be a lot, depending upon who you're talking to, who your customer base is, what you sell. But that's the key. Did I match or exceed expectations? If you're constantly failing at that, that might be the other part, which is sales and marketing, and you're setting bad expectations, right? So make sure you're matching expectations. That's operations. You want people who can make sure they can match those expectations of the customer. Now, you might go, Larry, but when I do it, it's perfect. And guess what? Nobody cares. Said it again, right to you if you're listening. Nobody cares. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to match or exceed their expectations. It only matters if they expect perfection, and almost nobody does. And if all your customers expect expectation, you got bad customers. So change your customers. They should not expect perfection. So change expectation. Sometimes it can be good enough. It matches their expectations, good enough. Next step, sales and marketing. That is all about effectiveness. I'm sorry, efficiency. Sorry. Operations effectiveness, marketing and sales effectiveness. How much money and time I put in versus how much I get out. That's what matters. If I put $100 in, do I get at least $300 out? If I don't get $300 out when I put $100 in, my marketing and sales is failing. That's how you should be thinking about that, right? If I put in $100, what do I get back? 150? That's not working. $10? Boy, is that bad, right? I get $300 back. Okay, I'm doing good. I hope you get $1,000 back, but just give me 3 and I'm good, right? That should be my barrier, right? I'm making $300 out of every 100 I put in or more. Life is good, right? That's where your head should be. If you're doing that, it's good. Sales and marketing is not about reality. Operations is about reality, right? Sales and marketing, everything is on what they perceive you to be, not what you are. Operations is what you are, right? So if you're I don't know, for sake of argument, a bookkeeping company, a sake of argument, right? If you're a bookkeeping company, before they experience you, it's just what they think you are. But now operations, you got to do the job. It's now that's where the rubber hits the road. You got to be effective. Prior to that, it's only about what they believe.
Right.
And we have to understand that. And if you're an entrepreneur, you've changed that hat, right? One hat is I got to make sure that stuff happens. Operations, marketing, I got to make sure they believe it can happen.
Right.
Totally different mindset. That's about what I put in, do I get out? Sales and marketing is even split. Marketing is all about the idea. It's vague. It's positive. Look at what could happen. Look at you, a picture of success. Marketing should not have lots of details. It should be nice and warm and fuzzy. Marketing is bringing the horse to water. Sales, making them drink. That's when details come in. How much? How does it work? What goes here? What goes there? What can they expect, right? That's the sales part. Even that should be split. And again, though, still, it is efficiency. How much time am I putting in my sales process? What am I getting out of it? Same idea, right? So that's sales and marketing. Last part's admin. That's things like payroll, legal, all those things. Generally speaking, if you're an entrepreneur, outsource all of that. The best of your ability. Outsource all of that to the best of your ability, right? And people go, but wait a minute, I've always, written my own contracts. I've always done my own bookkeeping. I get it. I'm glad you have. Good for you. Outsource it. I'm impressed. Outsource it. Because if you're a baker or if you're a trainer or if you're an artist, whatever you are, stop doing legal work and admin work. Go do the baking or the arting or the lawyering. Go do the thing you're supposed to do. Your job as an entrepreneur is not to do everything. Your job as an entrepreneur is to make sure things get done.
Right.
That is a huge difference. So operations, serving your customer, making sure that the expectations are matched or exceeded. Sales, showing the imagination that it can be done about effectiveness. I'm sorry, efficiency versus effectiveness. And then admin, outsource, 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 outsource to the best of your ability. You should be doing as little admin as possible. Now, that's not effective for everybody. I get it. Some people, different worlds. I understand. To the best of your ability, outsource your admin, your IT, everything. If you can outsource that stuff, please outsource it if you can. So
Right.
now
Well,
that I have that in mind,
helps.
now I'm sorry.
I was going to say, well, that helps to kind of get some of the workload off of the person who's running the company. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out for them
I was getting there.
Okay.
I was getting there.
Getting
The
that
next
person,
thing I want you to do, once you understand that conceptually, the
Mhm.
next thing I want you to do is I want you to create an org chart for your job,
Mhm.
not for your company,
Mhm.
for your actual job, what you physically do, not your company, you as the entrepreneur. And you're going to break that up into those three. Here's what I do in operations. Here's what I do in sales. Here's what I do in admin. Break it up. And you're going to list to the best of your ability every single thing as detailed as you can go down. If you can go down 4 or 5 lines, awesome. Detail it all out to the best of your ability. This will take about a half an hour to an hour. You'll probably make mistakes. You'll want to redo it. Most people I tell this to don't do it because it's a pain and they won't do it. It's a mistake. You should do it. I do it. When you write it all out, you're looking for 2 things. 1, an entire leg or similar things in each of the 3 or 4 that match. Now, how do you judge them? Several criteria. Number 1, what do I like doing versus what I don't like doing? That's criteria 1. I like this. I don't like that. Okay, great. Next, what do I do well versus what do I not do well? Now, entrepreneurs don't always want to accept they do things poorly. You do. You're human. Some things you suck at. That's how it works. You're just a human being. That's how it works. So when you start realizing that, very often they overlap. Most of the time, things you don't do well, you don't like. And things you do well, you like. That's not a 100% rule. Sometimes, as we talked about earlier, you're good at it, but you're tired of it. Or the reverse is some new thing you really want to do, but you haven't had much experience in it. So once in a while, it doesn't overlap, but it usually does. Next, what has impact versus not impact? What am I doing that's not giving me any return? What am I doing that gives me great return? Fourth, what am I spending lots of time on versus not much time on? They often overlap. If you're doing things that don't have value, you spend lots of time on them. Why? Circling those things that you are not valuable, you should not be working on, that you don't like to do, and that you aren't good at, and see if there's a leg or 2 that match or individual tasks that match. If there's a leg or 2, the entire leg comes off. If there's tasks come out. That is a job description for your next hire.
Perfect.
That's how you create your job description for your next hire. Now, here's the hardest part. When you create that job description, you start putting it out. You do not want to make it sound good. I'm very serious. Entrepreneurs think I need bodies, so I got to make it sound. No, the reverse is true. You're going to look at that job description, figure out where that person now will fit in your actual org chart, right? The first org chart was of your job. Now, where does that person fit in the actual org chart, right? Where they fit. You'll know by using your org chart what parts they use more of. That's where they'll fit in the actual org chart, right? So they go to that org chart. And now you say, what's the hardest, difficult piece of that business? And for the sake of argument, that piece is customer service. I don't know if that's true. Sake of argument, it is. It's dealing with tough customers. That's the hardest part of that job. You're going to highlight that. Literally, you're going to highlight that and put words that are emotional, like must love dealing with challenging customers. I'm very serious. Must enjoy having to solve complex problems with loud, obnoxious customers. Seriously. You're going, but Larry, people aren't going to apply. Good. I don't want them. The goal isn't to have 300 resumes of people who are desperate for jobs. I don't want that. I want people to go, oh, really? That's kind of cool. I want the right people. I don't want 300 random people. I want 10 people who actually want this job. So your job description should be serious and it should highlight the hardest parts of the job. You do that, you'll get a better hire. If you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, one bad hire put you behind by a year.
Yeah.
So hiring is critical. Make it hard.
Mhm. So the final question that I wanted to ask, because I know we're getting short on time, was how does an effective leader actually show that compassion or vulnerability? A lot of times people think, I just have to be this non-emotional kind of, just separate from the rest of the staff kind of boss so they, respect me. But how would you kind of coach someone to say that's not necessarily the case?
It's absolutely the opposite of the case, right? You
Mhm.
want to be as open as you possibly can. The way you build strong teams is through vulnerability,
Mhm.
right? Winning together doesn't build a strong team. Losing together does,
Mhm.
right? You lose together and they still stay with you. That's a good team.
Mhm.
Everyone's with you when you're winning, right? I'm winning. Oh, we all love you, Larry. You're the winner. I got tons of best friends then. How about when I get my butt kicked? Are you still there?
Mhm.
Right? So losing and failing is really important. I told you up front in this interview how I failed at my business. I had to sell it
Mhm.
off. Absolutely. I don't think everybody went, oh, turning off now. That guy's a loser.
Right.
I hope they didn't do that, right? They probably said, oh, that guy just went, he failed and he's still talking trash. Huh. All right. Let me keep listening. So I think being vulnerable is a key. I actually have an exercise I actually ask people to do, which is as a good leader, you get your team together and you ask each person to express a challenge they have,
Mhm.
and you start and you say it. And I always start as a leader. And one of my challenges I always say is, being a New York City boy, sometimes I speak too fast and I come across as a bit aggressive. And I don't mean to be. I'm enthusiastic. So I
Right.
have to sometimes slow my roll and calm myself down so that I come across the way I really am. I want to come across as enthusiastic and not aggressive. And that's a challenge for me. And still,
Right.
right? I'm just gonna say I'm over 50. That's what I'll say. So I'm over 50. So it's been a couple of years and I still struggle with that. And it's a challenge
Mhm.
for me. And when I say that, often people go, oh my God, I have a similar problem, or the reverse, I'm too quiet, or I'm too nice, or I'm too aggressive. They start coming up and sharing it. And now there's a connection. And the reason why I
Mhm.
want a connection is I'm going to be wrong. That's
Mm.
going to happen. And I'm going to fail. That's going to happen. And if there's no connection with me, I'm just another jerk boss.
Right.
Connection, they go, yeah, Larry messed up, but he didn't mean it. Let's have a conversation. Let's try to fix this. So if you
Mhm.
really want to build a team, vulnerability is everything. The harder
Mm.
you are, the harder you must always be. In which case, now you can't even change your plan anymore because changing your plan is weakness. So now you
Mhm.
walk and you march everybody off a cliff. I'd rather not do that.
Right. Exactly. Well, this has been an interesting discussion. I know we're running short on time. So I wanted to ask if you have an offer that you would like to extend to the listeners.
I don't know if I have an offer, but if you want to come see me, no problem. You can go to my YouTube page, which has lots of business stuff. It's called The Neo Sage, Neosage. So The Neo Sage. Check that out if you want to. Tons of cool videos, but all kind of stuff. I do a podcast called The Sharpe Way, which if you're watching, I'm promoting clearly right here. You can check it out, The Sharpe Way. You can Google that if you want. That's much more of a political vlog more than anything else. So if you're interested in cool politics, that's the one. If you're interested in business, The Neo Sage, that's my company. I'm happy to have you check any of those out. Or just Google Larry Sharpe. You'll see a bunch of interviews I did. I did a lot of interviews on Joe Rogan and Glenn Beck and Dave Rubin, a bunch of people I just did a bunch of interviews on. So feel free to check those out if you like.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Larry, for being a guest on my show and just sharing your experiences. I appreciate it.
Of course. Good luck to everybody.
Thanks. I do want to also thank the listeners for tuning in. I hope you found this topic interesting and that it answered some of your questions about the difference between management and leadership and why it matters. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Larry, or you can send us a message at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know? I'd really appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for next week's topic, business exit strategy. And please remember you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. And remember, you can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next Tuesday. Have a terrific week.